a term that is used and that allows you to install these different operating systems on top of your host operating system is called the hypervisor. All right, so I want to give you an analogy of what the hypervisor is and its surroundings. All right, so let's say you have a vast land. So let's say this box here is your land. All right, on top of the land because it is a vast land. All right, and so the first thing you would have to do is to raise a foundation. All right, so you have your land and you are going to raise a foundation. All right, so after you had raised the foundation, the next thing to do is to start building. So these are the buildings, several buildings on top of the foundation that you have raised. All right, so let's then translate that into the IT space. Now, let's say you have your land. So your land will be termed as your host PC. So you have your host PC, then you have your hypervisor. The hypervisor is what allows you to install these different operating systems. So the hypervisor will act as the mediator between these different VMs or virtual machines or operating systems that has been installed on the hypervisor and then the host PC. So it acts as a mediator between the various VMs and then your host or your base operating system. Okay. This means that without the hypervisor, you can't be able to install these different operating systems on your base or your host operating system. Okay, so the hypervisor is a very important tool that is used to help you install these various operating systems. Okay, so let's go on to start with the demonstration. Now we are going to have different hypervisors we are going to use. The first one I would like us to start with is the Hyper-V. The Hyper-V is a Windows tool that you can enable in the Windows environment. Say Windows 11 or 10, you can enable it and then it allows you to build these different operating systems on top of it. All right, so let's go on to see how we can do it. The first thing we need to do is to get our hypervisor. Like I mentioned earlier, the hypervisor we are going to use is the Hyper-V. And the Hyper-V is a software or a feature within the Microsoft operating system. That is the Windows operating system. That is Windows 10 or 11. You find it as a feature within its operating system. So before you can be able to have access to it, you need to enable it. How do we enable it? Let's see how we can be able to enable it. All right. So once you are on your PC, you go down and click on the start menu, or better way, you can just press your Windows plus R key, right? So let me just drag it. So you press your Windows plus R key and type in optional features.exe. All right, optional features.exe. Then click on OK. Once you click on OK, you will see your user account control pane that will pop up. Click on yes. Once you click on yes, you will then see the Windows feature dialog box that is popped up. All right, so once it has popped up, you look through and find Hyper-V. Once you find Hyper-V, which is this, you check it. All right, once you have checked it, you click on OK and then you wait for it to get installed. All right, so it's applying the necessary changes and it will ask you to restart the machine. Okay, so once you click on the restart, it's going to reboot your system and then that Hyper-V hypervisor will be available for you to start your demo, to start your installation of the other operating systems. So we'll be back after I've restarted the machine. Okay. All right, so now that we have restarted the machine, we should be able to have access to our Hyper-V manager. All right, so how do we have access to it? You click on the start menu, which is this. You start typing in your Hyper-V, you realize that it appears the Hyper-V manager. click on it or double click on it, and then the user account control pops up. Click on yes, and then here, this interface, you have your Hyper-V manager. All right. Now, over here, this is where you can be able to install several of your VMs or virtual machines. All right, the different operating systems that you'll be installing. This is where you are going to start it at. Now, before you even do that, there's another important thing that we need to do. What is the thing? We have to configure our virtual switch. All right, so virtual switches are basically adapters that allows communication between each of the VMs or communication between the VM and then the host or the base operating system. Again, communication between these VMs, the host operating system, and then the external, which is the outside world, that is the internet. All right, so let me explain again. Now, in Hyper-V, we have three types of virtual switches. We have the private, which is what we are seeing here. We have the internal and we have the external. Okay. Now, this private, when you set it up, it only allows communication between the VMs that you've set up. You can set it up to allow communication between any of the VMs. All right. So that's the only thing the private is set up to do. It doesn't go beyond the internal VMs. When you set up an internal virtual switch, it goes beyond the communication between the VMs to communicating with the host or the base operating system. All right. Now, the third one, which is external, which will give you access to the internet. So it allows this VM to have access to the internet based on a protocol called NAT. That is outside the scope of this, but just understand that the external, when you set it up, it allows the VMs to have access to internet. Okay. All right. So that is basically what the virtual switches do. So like your host operating system, it has an adapter. That adapter or NIC adapter allows you to talk to the internet or any external network. All right. That is basically what this would also be doing, just for communication and for internet access. All right, to share resources. And all right, so let me close this. All right, so having explained the virtual switches and the various types we have, let's look at how we can go into the Hyper-V manager and configure that, because we need to configure that before we go into even set up the various VMs. Even though it's not compulsory, you can do any of them, but for me, I want to do it sequentially. So what I will normally do is to first set up the virtual switches. All right, so let's see how we are able to do it here. Now, open your Hyper-V manager, navigate to the action pane, which is on your right side. Click on the virtual switch manager. Having clicked on it, this virtual switch manager for computer pops up. All right. Now, at the first instance, there's a default one already which has been set up for you. Now, we want to manually set up all the three by ourselves, but let's see how we are able to set it up. Make sure the external is highlighted, and then you click on Create Virtual Switch. When you click on it, you'll be able to see this pane, right? You should see that it has already created the external for you, the external adapter for you. All right, but it's giving you an option to rename it. Okay, so that we can differentiate when we are configuring, we want to rename it so that we know this is external rather than going into it before we are able to tell if this is external or not. So normally I will rename it and say this is my external virtual switch. All right, make sure everything else is intact, just like this. All right, so when you come here, external network, under it, make sure what you set up here is the same network adapter your host machine operating system is using to connect to the internet. By default, it is intelligent enough to pick it. But just to confirm, go to your control panel, navigate to network and internet, click on it, then to network and sharing center. Then you can come to change adapter settings. Okay, so over here, mine is using this. So you can see it's the same. Intel R Wi-Fi 6 AX201 160 megahertz. All right, so when you come here, it is the same, right? So it means that it's automatically picked my adapter that is connected to the internet. Okay, so once you are done with this, click on apply, click on yes, give it some time to apply its changes. Okay, so once it's done applying these changes, go on to click on OK. Let's close this. Okay, so let's go back to the virtual switch manager again. You've realized that it has created your external virtual switch for you. All right, let's go create another one, which is for the internal virtual switch. So you click on it, you click on create virtual switch, rename it. So you can say internal virtual switch. All right, you should make sure it's already on internal virtual switch, internal network, sorry. Then click on apply. Wait for it to make its necessary changes. Once it's done, you click on OK, or better still, you can come back and click on new virtual network switch. Then create that of the private. All right, click on it. Click on create virtual switch. Rename it to private virtual switch. Make sure it's on private network. Click on apply. All right, so now you are able to tell that we have the external, we have the internal, and here we have the private. We are going to make use of the three to know how it operates. All right, and how we can really configure it. Okay, once you are done with that, click on OK. The next thing we have to do is to install the various VMs on the hypervisor. All right, but normally before I will do that, I want to know and understand where exactly my various VMs are going to be stored. Okay, so what I will do is to, normally my hard disk C is almost always full, and so I wouldn't like to install my VMs on that space. By default, the Hyper-V will automatically install your VMs in the drive C. If that is not problem to you, forget about this I'm going to do. But if you want to install it in a different partition, then let's go on and see how you can be able to do it. So once you are on the Hyper-V manager, to your right action pane, go down to Hyper-V settings, then come to, okay, now on your virtual hard disk, this is my default location where my virtual hard disk and its files are going to be stored. All right, if you do not want yours, by default yours will be installed in your C drive, so you can come here and change the location. That's just for your knowledge. Okay, once this aspect is done, you've made your necessary changes, you can go on, cancel it, or click on OK, and then we want to start installing the various operating systems. So you need to have your ISO files already available. All right, let's see how you are going to install the Windows 10 and then the Windows Server operating system. You can move on to install the various Linux distributions. Okay, all right, so once you are again here, you click on quick create. Or you can then come to local installation source, click on this local installation source, and then you click on change installation source. Once you click on it, navigate to where exactly your ISO files are. You click on that, and then these are my various ISO files. Let's start by installing the Windows Server 2022. All right, once I've located that and click on the create virtual machine. So now it begins the creating of the hard disks, sorry, the disk files and stuff. Once I am done, the next thing I will normally do is to go to edit. You can actually close this and go to the edit from here, but I'll normally go to edit. And then the next thing I'll do, the first thing I'll do is to come and change the name. DC01. Okay. The next thing again I'm going to do is to come to checkpoints and then uncheck this. Okay. The checkpoint will backing up snapshots of this particular VM, which I wouldn't want because it's going to occupy my disk space. All right. So normally I will uncheck this. And then the next thing I'll do is to check if I'll need any necessary space, RAM size, or processor, increase the processor speed. For me, it is okay for me. If it's you need any necessary change, you can go on and do it there. That is here and then here. All right. Now, the next thing you can do is to come to network adapter and then do the various changes. When you come here, you'll be able to notice that we have the external, which is what we've already configured earlier. You have the internal and then you have the private. Now, we want to start with the private. I'm going to take you through how the three of them actually operate. All right. We are going to start with the private first. So you can select the private virtual switch. All right. And click on apply and then OK. All right. Once you are done with that, you realize that the name has changed to DC01. So once you are done with this setup, the next thing you have to do is to double click on the DC01 to continue the setup. Once this pops up, you should be able to click on your start. The next thing that pops up is this: press on any key. Once you haven't pressed on that key within a particular space of seconds, it's going to give you this. All right. So what I can do is to close this, turn it off, and then start it again. Once it pops up again, I have to press any key. All right, so I've pressed any key and then it's allowing me to continue with the installation. All right, so click on next, click on install now. I may have to be okay. All right, so once we are here, we want to click on the second one, which is the desktop experience. All right, then click on next and then accept the license terms. You may want to read this and then click on next, click on custom, then click on next. To allow the files should be copied and then installed, the necessary features and updates, and then when it finishes, then we'll be back. All right, the installation is still going through and it's giving you this black screen. Normally, if you wait for some minutes and you don't see any change, I will normally turn this off and then restart it. All right, so let me give it a few, maybe 1 minute. If I don't see any change, then I'll close this and restart it. All right, so let's go on and then click on this, turn off, and then start it all over. So once I start it, I'm sure it will go to pick up. Yeah, so this is it. So you've gotten to customize settings screen, which is giving access to you for you to enter your Windows password and then click on finish. All right, so normally it will require you to enter an alphanumeric character. So let's go on and do that. All right, once I do that, click on finish. You can close this. So let's log in. By logging, if you want to log in, come here to this corner, top corner, click on this. Then it should give you access to the login screen. Then you can now enter the password you had entered earlier. All right, so we are having access to our Windows Server 2022. All right. All right, so with the same process, let's go on to install that of the Windows 10 VM. All right, so still to your action pane, click on the quick create, click on the local installation source, and then click on the local installation source, come to change installation source, locate the ISO file, and click on the Windows 10 operating system, ISO file, then click on create virtual machine. Now, once we are done with that, we should be able to edit some of the settings. So if I go in, clicking on it, come to names, change the name to maybe Win 10 VM or something. So once I'm done with editing the name, the next thing to do is to come to checkpoints and uncheck this. The next thing to do is to come to network adapter and change the default switch to that of the private. Like I said, we'll be working on the various ones to see how you are going to set all of them up. All right. So private virtual switch, you click on it. If there's any other thing you want to do, you can, but I think I'm okay with these other settings. Then apply the necessary changes and then click on OK. Now we can now go on to set up the VM, which is the Windows 10 VM. So click on connect. Once this pin appears, click on start. Press any key. Click on next. Install. So it's a similar process you would have to go through. All right. Click on, I will normally go for Windows 10 Pro. Click on next. Accept the terms. Click on next. Go for custom installation. Click on next. And wait until all these files get copied and installed. Then we'll be back. All right, so it's still undergoing the installation. Let's give it some more time and see. All right, so let's click on yes. Based on the region in which you can look for it and click on it. So I'm going to click on yes. But it's not necessary since you're on a VM. You can go and click on yes. Click on skip. Then I will say I don't have internet. Click on that. Click on limited setup. You can give it a name. So Win 10. Okay, so let me give it PC 01. All right. You may want to enter a password. I wouldn't enter a password. I'll just go on. These are privacy settings, so I'll normally disable everything. I don't need all this. Then click on accept. All right. So for the Cortana, you want to say not now. So let's wait for it to complete the installation. All right. So here I can close this. Now we have our Windows 10 machine also set up.